Welcome to Caldwell County Today. I'm Paige Counts, Public Information Officer for Caldwell County. Joining me today is Keith Smith to talk about an upcoming Hub production.
Yes. Good
Welcome,
to see you,
Keith. It's good to see you.
Well, it's good to be here. This play is a little different. So we did the two Mitford plays, Welcome to Mitford. It's the same play twice, right after COVID. That's the first thing we did coming out of COVID. But those were not dinner shows. We weren't doing dinner yet again by then, and they weren't really part of our usual repertoire of like a spring show and a fall show, usually a comedy in the spring and a big musical in the fall. Well, this show is the first time we've done a dinner theater or partial dinner theater, and we'll explain that. Other than the fall or spring, this is in the summer. So it's the last 4 days of June, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's June 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th, and the Sunday 30th show is a matinee. And it's out of the 35 shows we've done there, we've only had, and 37 counting the Mitford shows, we've only had 3 shows that have matinees, so this, counting this one, so twice before. So we're looking forward to that. Maybe people who don't get out late or don't want to drive after dark could come to that matinee. But we wanted to do well because it's part of a new format, and very excited about it. These shows are going to be a little smaller scale, smaller cast with smaller sets, but still that will reach out to people. And this is a comedy called The Last Romance, and it's set in Hoboken, New Jersey, and it's just 4 characters. It's the lead character, Ralph, and his sister, Rose, and then Ralph meets a lady, and they develop the beginning of a relationship. And it's very funny, and it's tender, but then it has an interesting twist at the end, which, of course, we won't give away. And that's not even the Keith Smith surprise. That's the show surprise.
That's written in the play.
That's it. Well, in addition to directing, I try to take on an acting role every so often. I used to act a lot more, but I haven't done anything since I played Daddy Warbucks in Annie and directed that. And it's the second time I'd done that role. I was way too young the first time, but back in 2017, I was about the right age. And that's a big task to direct and try to be in the show because you can't watch the show, you're in it. But this is a small scale show, and I'm taking the lead role, which I'm probably terrified and may rue the day I did it, but I hope not. I need to challenge my brain, and I feel like I'm right for this role also. It's Ralph Bellini, and he sings opera. He had sung opera as a young man, but for reasons that will be explained in the play, he didn't pursue it as a career. And he'd become an engineer, a railroad person for 20 years, and then retired from that, or longer than that, but he retired 20 years ago. And he lives after his wife Anna dies 12 years before this, and it's set in the present. His sister comes to live with him to take care of him. She's a good substantive person, but she's very bitter. She's a Catholic, and she believes in the letter of the law. And her husband left her 22 years ago, but she still will not grant him a divorce because she said, you don't get divorced, you're married forever.
Catholics do not get divorced.
That's it. So she came to take care of Ralph, her brother. And she's very kind and helpful to him, but she's very demanding and always says, you got to be here right now and here for this and here for this. And Ralph is sick one morning, and he gets up and he doesn't go on his daily walk. He just doesn't feel like it. But by the afternoon, he feels better. So he goes out and he says, I'll try a different route. And so he does. And he sees this woman walking her dog in a dog park that he didn't even know was there, right in his own neighborhood. And so the next day he tries to dress a little bit and goes back to the park to meet her. And then the show develops from there, and Rose is against him having any kind of relationship. Partly, I think, because she's jealous, but she really is trying to look out for him. And she finds out something about the other lady that you'll discover in the show that she feels like she needs to guard him. Well, he refers back to his audition for the Metropolitan Opera Company in his youth. And there's a young man who's the young Ralph who comes in and does a few songs and interrelates a little bit, but it's really mainly those 3 characters, the Ralph Bellini and his sister Rose. I should know her name. It's Tagliatella. And we actually have a dish.
I was trying to say, wait a minute, this is the menu. This paper he just picked up is the menu.
Yeah, the lady who's doing the catering, we'll talk about that in a moment. You say you just turned me loose and I go for 20, 30 minutes. But the lady's name in the show is Tagliatella, and here's Tagliatella is the dish. So she's actually cooking an authentic dish. So in the show, she talks about fixing veal scallopini, but I think that we'll probably change it to this dish because it'll be very legitimate. So it's Ralph and his sister Rose, and then Carol Reynolds, who's the lady he meets at the dog park. And then the story develops from there. But as I said, it's a smaller scale show. It's very funny. I don't think I can flub that up too badly, but it's a very, very well written show. It's very funny, and it's very poignant at moments, especially toward the end. But you just have to come see it. We won't give that away. But it develops. It's not a long show. It's about an hour and a half, and it's a simple set and simple blocking. A lot of it just takes place in this dog park, but it's still very entertaining. So that's what we're kind of looking at doing. We always have 2 weekends for our dinner theater, Thursday through Saturday, 1 weekend. The next week, 6 shows. But this is going to be all in one weekend, the last 4 days of June. That's June 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. And as I think I said, the Sunday show is a matinee. So the nighttime shows are at our usual 7:30. And then the Sunday show's at 2:30. We're only doing 2 meals for this one. The first 2 nights, the Thursday and Friday, the chairs will be down front. I've always said you can see well in the hub in general, and the seats are comfortable. You got a nice overview from up in the balcony, but you don't catch the nuance that you see on the front row or the first few rows. And so we're encouraging everyone to sit up front, and it's just seating without a meal the first 2 nights, and that's at 7:30. Well, Saturday night we'll add tables, and the meal will be at 6:30, and then the show to follow at 7:30, and the Sunday matinee is at 2:30 on Sunday, June 30th, preceded by the meal at 1:30. And the meal is being catered. A lot of you have been keeping up with this and call me about it at Town Hall often, but the meal for this show is being catered by the new restaurant that's taking the place of the Vintage Cafe right there on Central Street. And this lady, the lady who is the chef there was trained at the Cordon Bleu School, one of the Cordon Bleu schools, and so it's some higher end dishes. But for this show, since it's Italian, this is the menu she came up with. It's a Caesar salad, garlic bread, chicken carbonara tagliatella, and so chicken dish, Italian chicken dish, veggie lasagna, sautéed veggies, and tiramisu for dessert.
It sounds delicious.
Yeah, something totally different, and it doesn't mean we're departing with that forever, but it's kind of something unique. The whole experience is going to be. So I want people to come out so it's a successful endeavor to begin this summer show, but also it's maybe a heritage for something to come up, setting a precedent for that. But in addition to that, it's just I saw this show at Barter, and people were coming to me and raving, and people who come to our dinner theater were saying, you need to go see that show, and I did, and I was very happy with it, so I'm delighted that we're doing it.
Tell us who's playing the other roles.
Okay. Rose, my sister, is Ann Wepner, who's been doing shows with me now for about 3 years, and just she was in a church where I directed music back in the 80s, and did a few plays then. Ann has 12 children. Several of them are adopted or foster children, but she's always been a great mother and has 12 grandchildren and some more on the way. But she's just been such a delight for our theater, because the theater is like a family to her, and we've become quite a family there. And she's done a lot of work with the Green Room and been on the board there and that sort of thing in Newton. But we're real happy to have her in Hudson, and she's very delightfully suited for this particular role. And then the other person is someone we know very well, Cathy Stallings, who is my love interest, Carol Reynolds, in the show. And yesterday was really, as of this taping, we practiced on my 65th birthday, which was yesterday. So
well, happy birthday.
Thank you. So I'm old enough to start thinking about these roles. But we had the script, we looked at it on our own, but as far as the 3 of us sitting down and reading, yesterday was the first time we were at Broy Hill Park, so it was actually a park. We heard dogs barking and children playing, and so it fit the mood for that. But I just had a very good feeling as soon as we started interrelating with each other. It's going to come along nicely, I believe. So, yeah.
And with a small cast, you can do rehearsal at the park.
Well, yeah, we're not going to go to the Hub every time. We will. There's several rehearsals there, but we won't just have to be there every show, and there's not all this nuance of moving. This goes here, then this scene, you go here, then. And in the fall, we're doing My Fair Lady, and there's 16 scene changes. And Carolyn Eichard, who will, builds her set, she's already honing in on me. I said, Carolyn, please let me get this one done first. We got time for October, but that'll be maybe the biggest scale show we've ever done, and the one we're doing now may be the smallest, so big contrast. But people will find this show very entertaining. There's a lot of humor and quite a bit of poignancy too. So.
Tell us, you talked about dinner theater. How do people get tickets?
Okay, it's the same way as always. There are three ways. Addie Cardwell, now Faber, she just got married back in the winter, but Addie Faber is the director of the Hudson Uptown building, and she's dabbling in all kinds of things there and does a great job. But she will be at the box office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And by the time this taping airs, tickets will be on sale. And you can actually go into the building on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 till 5 to get your tickets. Or you can call, and Addie will either answer the phone or she's out of the office, leave a message, and she's very good to follow up. But the easiest way, as it's become the last few shows, is to go online to either the Hudson Uptown Building website or the Town of Hudson website and follow the link to tix.com. That's tix.com, and you can see all the seats laid out and order your tickets there.
Tell me again, which nights are dinner theater and which nights are theater only?
The first two are the show only. That's the Thursday and Friday, and then the Saturday and then Sunday matinee or dinner, or in that case lunch show or brunch show or dinner shows. But and the tickets for just any seating down front on the first two nights, or in the balcony the last two nights. It won't be open until those last two performances, not night, but night and day. It's very confusing. Saturday and Sunday we'll have the balcony open as well. That's the tables. And tickets for downstairs to the balcony are $20 each. And tickets for the dinner or the lunch on Saturday and Sunday, and including the show, of course, are $37, which is what they have been for a while.
And your setup as far as for the audience, it's going to be a little bit different. We're not putting, we hope we sell enough to have to add more seats, but we're putting out fewer seats than usual, still very intimate. We can still accommodate up to 300 on Thursday and Friday, and we're setting up for about 156 for dinner, spreading it out a little bit more. But if we sell tickets, we'll add tables in. We can full capacity in there, and still staying kind of comfortable is 216 for the dinner part and 76 in the balcony. So it'll be just a little more relaxed setup, a little not quite as tight, and I think people will like it. There'll be kind of an intimacy to it. And you may have already mentioned this, but talk to me about the advantage of sitting closer to the stage in a performance like this.
I think you and I talked about it
before we came on the air. Before we came on the air, but wasn't sure.
If we repeat it, that's
okay. If we repeat it, sorry, folks.
All the seats are good. The floor for our dinner theater, it's flat. It's not a gradated or tiered setting. So if you sit toward the back, you can see and you can hear fine. But and in the balcony, you have a beautiful overview in the balcony, and very comfortable seating, better than the chairs probably downstairs as far as comfort. But again, this one doesn't go really long. It's like more an hour and a half, so you won't get too tedious with that. But the advantage of being down close is that you can see facial expression and nuance. And if you're watching a movie, like if you and I are in a movie on film now, it picks up things. You're close enough, and you don't have to. In theater, the trick is always you have to project and get things all the way to the back of the balcony, but still seem real and not overstated.
Right.
But so you enunciate and stay very clear with your pronunciation and your speaking. And yet the one thing you can't capture from that far back are the nuances of facial expressions, like you're face-to-face with us. Up close you can. So that's just an added benefit. It's not bad either way, but it gives you a little benefit. I'll never forget when my Yes Girls were singing, the youth ensemble singers, I used to talk about this imaginary woman, and her name was Miss Johnson. I told everyone she was 94 years old, and she was hard of hearing. And I said, for some reason, she's a Baptist. She sits in the very back, and we were singing at the Baptist church, First Baptist Church in Hudson one Sunday morning. This back about 2013 or 14. And I was telling them that Miss Johnson always comes in and goes up to the very back row of the balcony, and she needs to hear every syllable that you sing pronounced clearly. Well, that morning before we were warming up, about 10:15 before the 11 o'clock service, and people started filtering in. And this lady was on a walker, sweet little lady. I don't know who she was, but she came in, and Alex Gibson came over to me with wide eyes, and she said, "Mr. Keith, is that Miss Johnson?" So that was a lot of fun. She'd been listening to me anyway. So we try to always be, I went to see a play in Charlotte, a school production, and it was very well done. The acting was fine. The singing was pretty good. The staging and the costumes and the set pieces were glorious, but it was in a gym and they weren't mic'd, and there were 400 or 500 people there. And the two lead actors were mic'd, but you really couldn't hear anything. It's just so important to be able to hear. I don't hear very well. We have a lot of elderly guests, and they don't hear well, and young people, some of them don't either. But to really get the full effect of a show or a concert, you need to be able to hear it well. So I try to strive. You've got to enunciate and be clear and rely on mics, but it just wasn't going to happen. But you could follow that show enough, but it would still been so much more special had it had. But you can't mic with so many people. That show had like 44 people in it. But see, we'll not have any problem. We'll have 4 people. They'll all be mic'd.
They'll all be mic'd, but sitting close. And I know it's been a few years ago. I sat at the very first table. I think as your guest, and you really could. The show was so much more enjoyable because I could see the faces and the expressions.
It comes alive more.
It just comes alive more.
And while I'm thinking about it, I will say this. This show is dedicated to Dan Truitt, who most people know that came and played the captain in The Sound of Music. Dan Truitt lives in Concord, and I met him back when we did Sound of Music. I sucked up enough courage to go up to him to ask him to come to see about doing the play. Now, he was Rolf Gruber, the guy that sings "I Am 16 Going on 17" to Liesl in the 1965 movie with Julie Andrews, and he was 20 then. But it was so funny because when we did this in 2013, he said, "I am 16 going on 70," and he turned 70 September 10th, and that show was in October. But this show's so much like about his life. He gave up Hollywood and doing things in California to be more realistic and to be able to do things in North Carolina because he loved it here. And so he's been here since the 80s, the late 80s. But he came up to do The Sound of Music, and this show is dedicated to him. He's the guest of honor this time because, like I said, it parallels his life so much with the opera singing, and he's such a fine singer. But he's coming up for that Sunday matinee. He's our guest, so he'll be there that Sunday. And he'll be right up front so he can hear well. He's now 80 years old, so anyway.
Keith, what have we forgotten to talk about?
I think we've really covered almost everything. Just general stuff, like we always say, give it a chance. This is one thing that's challenging about this. Other than outdoor drama, which I've done 15 years of outdoor drama, other than that, I've never done summer shows except we did through my Wind and Woods company at the Civic Center back in 2010. We did A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. And it turned out to be a wonderful production, but it was not well attended. It was okay, but it wasn't attended like I wanted it to be because it was in June. And people are on vacation and they're doing things. But if you're in the area, give yourself one evening to come out. I think you'll be glad you did. There's so many people who tell me, especially men, say, the women, my wife and her friends have gone to see shows. I finally went, and I didn't realize how much I would like it. So if you'll give it a chance, live theater really is a very special thing. It's a living entity each night. You have film on celluloid. Once it's recorded, they might do 20 or 50 takes, but once it's recorded, it's that way for a lifetime.
Right.
But theater is a new animal every night, and somebody can laugh. We were watching it when we did Madam Buttermilk. I went to see it. It's such a great show. Ross Carter, but I made friends with Ross, and he came down, and our show did very well. Because I'm smart enough, as I always say, to surround myself with good people. But I saw it at Barter Theater, and the first time I saw it, I liked it, but it just, it depends. People's moods are different on different nights, or the cast is different, and it was fine, but it didn't jump out. The second time I saw it, it was a world difference, and one thing that happened is, the lady playing the stage manager, who in our show was Wepner, who's doing this show, is Rose, my sister. She comes out, that character does, the stage manager says, "Okay, we're taping now. Everybody be really quiet, or I'll come out there," you know. And so this guy, he couldn't help it. Just as they were getting ready to start, he did this huge, just huge sneeze. And everybody in the audience laughed. And the stage people kept playing with that the rest of the show. Like, "Don't be like that guy." And they just took it in. So it took on a life of its own. And that kind of energy can flow out. That's one of the magical things about theater. You know, it's never exactly the same any two nights in a row. And you have to be prepared and know your lines, and yet you have to appear as if you're thinking it up for the first time. So you're really walking a tightrope there. And it's a real dichotomy of knowing everything and yet making it seem like it's fresh. And one thing that scares me, I have to overcome in myself. I think I did my best acting when I was young, before I studied it or knew anything about it. It was a natural instinct. Well, it's like people who are golfers and they read every golf magazine and they come up with like 80 tips or 115 tips. And you get up to swing and you can't think of all 180, 100 of those at the same time. You have to let go and swing. Well, it's the same way on stage. You can't think of all the rules. You have to do it enough that it comes second nature. And I have to avoid the temptation to look ahead. Well, what's my third line from now? What's my fourth line from now? Because you'll go crazy. You just have to live in the moment and trust that you've done it enough that it'll come to you and be natural and unfold as it goes. And you really got to listen to the other person and react and make facial contact and expressions. And that's where Cathy and I worked together before, and you could even tell from yesterday we're going to have that element. So I was very glad. And Rose too, but I mean, Cathy and I are 80% of the show.
Right.
So we're up there all the time.
Tell us again, because it just popped into my head, the name of the restaurant.
It's the Allard, and I was going to look up the definition. It's a word that means something, but it's also a family name from way back. And Candace Hageman, that used to be Three Doors Down, now it's Three Drinks Down, because there's a band called Three Doors Down. Her lawyers asked her to, their lawyers asked her to desist, so she changed the name. But she also owns this new restaurant. She's quite the entrepreneur. She owns a building with rental properties in Hudson, but she's hired this lady named Brenda to be the chef, and she's the one who studied at the Cordon Bleu. And Brenda has interest in the restaurant too. I mean, financial interest in it. I think there's a core group. So it's a group of people, and I really hope it goes in Hudson. There's a niche for this out there. You maybe think Hickory or Charlotte, but I really think if people give it a chance, it'll do well. And she may have to tweak some, but they've been trying to open since last year, bless their hearts. You know, and ever since COVID, it's been hard to get supplies, hard to find people to work. And she finally got all that lined up. And then I was going to a test dinner she was having on a Friday. She was having what's called a soft opening Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. This has been like 6 weeks ago. You may remember Thursday night there was this deluge, and so it came and it just broke. It's an old building. It broke through the ceiling and did so much damage in the kitchen. So they've been working on that ever since. I never got to my Friday night open here the Saturday to go try it. But they're hoping to open later this week, as of this taping, or within a week or so. So give it a shot. But this play, as of right now, is a little over 5 weeks out. So by then they're going to be serving, and it's Allard, I think Allard. Okay. E may be E on the end, I'm not sure. I meant to look that up, but
a new small
business and restaurant in Hudson. And it's very elegant. You can look through the window and see it. It's very nice in there. But I get a lot of questions, customer service with the town.
I bet you do get a lot of questions.
I get probably 3 or 4 calls a week at least. When's that restaurant going to open? Or when's the Vintage Cafe going? I said, well, it's not going to be the Vintage Cafe anymore. It's a whole different format and a whole different idea. So we'll see.
So lots going on at Hudson.
Lots going on. We're doing a lot of things. And John, our town manager, he's just clicking right along with stuff, keeping us on the go. And I feel we were talking today in the office how so many small towns have had so many controversial things happen, like that guy in Wilkesboro that resigned from the board because he'd dogfighting, and he had a case of accused of, in his family, like not sexually, but abusing someone and beating them, and then a whole town up in northern central part of the state, their whole staff, which is only like 9 people, all of them resigned. in protest of the way the board had treated the mayor, and then there are other things going on. We've heard about 4 or 5. So we're very happy in Hudson. We've got a great board, and we've got a great staff, and people are very happy.
I'm glad to hear that,
Yeah.
because as a public information officer, you've just given me like 6 heart attacks just hearing that kind
Hearing
of
that other
news.
stuff. Yeah, we're glad that's not happening here
We're
in
glad,
Coleman
and
County.
let's keep it that way.
But a lot of that goes with John, because he's John Greer, our town manager. He's a great facilitator, and we've always had good people in Hudson, but it's very strong right now, and it's still trying to stay grounded, but looking forward, and a lot of new ideas and projects, and so I'm excited. It's a good time to be involved with it.
And one of the great things in Hudson is the hub where you can go see dinner
See,
theater.
and all the other things they're doing.
And all the other things.
Ann Smith and all those people, had a vision for this, but it's really coming to fruition. So I'm proud of all that, and Addie's carrying forth the work, and Janice, when she was there, did a great job, and Janice Woody. And Rebecca, when she was town manager, she loves that town, still works in the town and supports everything. But it's just like, it's been a very natural and good transition to, as people retire and things, for new people to come in, and it's going very well. So I'm happy to be involved in it, and I'm really thankful to the town and proud of the town that they give me the opportunity to really run with all my ideas for theater. But I hope it pays back to them as well. So
Right, so a lot to look forward to, but get your tickets now for The Last Romance.
The Last Romance. And if there's a message for the show, I didn't mention this, if there is a message, it's that it's never too late to have hope, and you're living in a routine, but keep your mind open, and sometimes love or anything else that's positive will come to you when you least expect it and where you least expect it. This guy just took a different path for his walk and developed a whole romance.
So, a hopeful message. I like that.
It is a hopeful message, and it's not a deep show as far as like Miracle Worker was so much about the history of Helen Keller, and other shows we've done go into so much philosophy and depth. This does have an element of that, but it's not. It's still mainly a comedy. Don't get so caught up if you think, oh, this is going to be drudgery. It's really just a delight, a lot of fun, and a lot of good one-liners, and still well-developed characters, or well-written characters. I hope we develop them well, and I think we will. But I just got to get on the book and stay in it every day.
All right, you study those lines, Keith.
I will.
All right.
Sure. I'll have it.
And thank you for being here.
It's always good to be here.
And thank you for watching Caldwell County Today.